Welcome to the Personal Brand Elevator. It's a podcast with me, Petty Morgan, photographer, serial rebrander, entrepreneur and online business queen. We're here to talk strategies and tactics for personal brand elevation in an online remote world. If you provide services online, then you are your brand. So come on, jump in the elevator with me because we are going up. How to show up consistently online with a high vibe without burning out. As someone who has used social media to promote my businesses and brands since about 2011, this is something I have been trying to perfect for a very long time. And you, as someone who provides services or products online, as somebody who finds new customers on social media, then you know how important it is to be showing up in front of your people on a regular basis. You know how that moves the needle in terms of audience engagement and audience growth. In fact, it is incredibly important to consistently get in front of your people, even the ones that are already buying from you, because social media is completely saturated with other businesses and brands trying to do the same thing. So showing up regularly forms the basis of brand elevation. Showing up regularly matters even more, I think, than what your brand looks like or even like how you're showing up. It's the very fact that you are showing up that's allowing your audience to see you, to remember you, to get to know, like and trust you enough to buy from you and to remember you even exist and are open to business. So you can have the best and most beautiful brand in the world that is so perfect and amazing with fonts and a colour palette that aligns with your brand vibe. You might have stunning brand photography and an impeccably designed website with matching social media graphics. But if you're not showing up on a regular basis for your audience, then what's the point of it all, right? I love using party analogies to describe brand vibes and presence, and this is a good one. There's no point in getting all dressed up if you have nowhere to go. If you want to make new friends, deepen existing relationships, and find out what's happening with your people, then it's actually just better to show up to the party with minimal attention to how you look and let your personality shine through, than not show up at all. So showing up for your people, it not only allows you to remind them of your existence, but it allows them to see you through different lenses as well. It's not just the one brand photograph that you are presenting to them online. They get to see you on different days, in different environments, hear different things that you have to say. Showing up creates a multifaceted view of you and your brand and allows people to get closer to you, which further deepens the trust and relationship that you have with them. You're also actually allowing them to do a bit of a vibe check with you. Are we on the same page here? Know, like, trust, buy. Remember that. You could definitely grow your network if you show up to every party, right? Actually, I tried this once on Instagram. I took this challenge to show up in my Insta stories every single day. I had a topic, like a list or a script for every day. It was either like a video or a creative Insta story, you know, with the text and photos and GIFs and pictures and things. But all of them encouraged engagement from my audience. And it actually really worked quite well for me. And I was getting new followers every day. And what that meant was that I showed up in their lives every day as well, and in their stories. So it gave these new people as well like a constant stream of quite interesting content from me. But as good as it was for engagement and growth, it was just too hard to keep up. I think I bombed after about 3 weeks. And now, honestly, the thought of doing a challenge like that just exhausts me even to think about, because actually showing up consistently like that, it can be bloody hard. I personally have struggled with it for years, not only as an introvert entrepreneur, but as an introvert entrepreneur, there must be a better word for that, juggling many different roles as we all do. I'm a mum of an almost 5-year-old as of today. I have multiple income streams in my business, so I don't have any one particular singular focus. Who does? And I've struggled with anxiety and depression over the years as well. So pretty much I'm just a regular human, right? And last time I checked, so are you. Typically, human beings have multifaceted lives. And our businesses are never the sole focus either. So life is never simple. There always seems to be a comedy over here, a tragedy over there, and something else completely unexpected happening over there. How do you show up consistently when you have a life as well? How do you show up with the same level of energy for your people when you also have a life? Let's go back maybe to that party analogy that we were hanging out at. Have you ever been to a party and someone has turned up with a super low vibe because they feel obliged to be there? Maybe they promised their partner or mum or sister or friend that they would show up, but they are not in the mood to be there, and it shows. Who actually wants to hang out with that person? Would you rather hang out with the person that is high vibe, full of great energy, is excited to be there? They put out that magnetic vibe and people pick up on that. You can feel it and you gravitate towards the person with the higher vibe. It's just how we are. Maybe you chat to the low viber for a bit, maybe out of obligation yourself, but you actually soon start feeling flat hanging out with them and you need to excuse yourself after a while. That happens when you show up on your socials too. So if you're not feeling it, if you're not into it, your energy shows, and you could be like that obliged person at the party. So there is a conflict here. There's a really obvious conflict. I'm saying, show up, show up, show up. It's really important to show up. You've got to show up. But don't show up if you're not in the right headspace. How can you actually continue to put yourself in front of your people on the regular, bringing a good vibe with you every time? One way is using mood-based marketing, which I have chatted about in another episode and we'll link to in the show notes. The other way is batching some of your content ahead of time. For example, pre-recording a batch of podcast episodes on the same day, kind of like what I'm doing right now. Or pre-recording a batch of Instagram story videos on a good hair day. If you are batch recording and scheduling your posts, you can create a regular cadence of content publishing that at a bare minimum allows you to show up every week or every few days or however frequently you choose. Then you can fill the gaps in real life, in real time, when you are feeling amazing and inspired. I have been caught in the trap of setting myself a publishing schedule that I really did feel was achievable at the time. And it was, until life happened. And I got behind really quickly. With my first podcast, I was recording and publishing one episode a week. So recording and publishing the same episode each week. It was really fun. And I actually did keep up with the schedule for about, 8 weeks. And then something happened. Maybe I got sick. And that interfered with my schedule. And all of a sudden I was behind. I started really feeling the pressure. And I started feeling really obliged to turn up and record because that was the goal I had set for myself. And I told my audience you get a new podcast episode every Wednesday, etc. So I started to be that obliged person and turning up and recording because I felt I had to. And I really do think this came across in my voice. Low vibe, repelling. For this podcast, I've learned my lesson from that. I'm batch recording up to 6 at a time within scheduled blocks of time that are 100% focused and all about recording the podcast. So it's scheduled in, the vibe is right, I'm feeling excited about it, I'm completely organised, it's awesome, my energy's high, and because the podcast is published weekly, I technically have at least another month or so before I need to get the next batch recorded if I'm doing up to 6 at a time. So I can schedule this into so I can schedule it in next week if I want, or 3 weeks down the track or whatever. So then if I decide to, I can record a podcast episode on the fly. when I have a burst of inspiration or high energy. What would you rather listen to? High vibe me or going through the motions me? I'm doing air quotes at the moment. So batching the podcast means that I'm showing up for you at least once a week, and I have fresh content coming out every week across all of my social media channels because I've got that podcast to talk about. And interspersed with this is high vibe me dropping in to say hi on the fly, and you will feel this in my energy. So if life happens, which it always does, school holidays are next week for starters, then at the very least you will still be hearing from me once a week. Even if I have all manner of things happening in my life and no energy at all to show up live, you'll still hear from me. So you can batch produce, oh my gosh, I've got so many new words on this podcast. You can batch produce any content that isn't extremely time sensitive. So like, unless you're a journalist reporting on daily events, then that's okay. The topics that I talk about on this podcast might be time sensitive if we're talking about trending strategies or changes to social media algorithms, but mostly they're about more timeless marketing strategies, so you can listen to this in 6 months' time and it'll still make sense. You can still publish content that is time sensitive if it's not predictable and therefore can be pre-recorded and scheduled ahead of time. Then you can just do this closer to the time or on the day or as it happens. That's fine. But when you batch produce content and schedule it to publish on a regular basis, say weekly, then you instantly have a reason to show up in someone's inbox or social media feed. So on those days where you're like, I don't know what to say to my people, that's okay. You've got something to talk about. You don't need to think about what you'll say because you've got that lined up already. Then everything else can be unscheduled and energy based. Don't be the obliged person at the party giving off a low vibe. Either show up without your glad rags and let your personality do the talking, or send a pre-recorded video. Haha. Sorry guys, I can't be there with you today, but I'm there in spirit. Don't forget me. I don't know. Maybe in the future we can send like, those 3D images of ourselves. Holographs. Yeah. Oh, that's such a good idea. I wonder if anyone has that as a business idea. Anyway, magnetise people on your good days. Elevate your brand by showing up for your people with the energy that will attract your ideal customers, like bees to honey. So show up more consistently with the right energy that's going to attract people. Think about what content that you can batch produce and publish on a regular basis, and how you can show up in between with the most energy. And so that you don't overcomplicate the batch production itself, ask me how I know you might do this. Remember that you can do like a series of content or a season of content. It doesn't have to be this relentless treadmill of content that you become terrified of starting. Thanks for jumping in the personal brand elevator with me. That's the end of this episode, but please subscribe to hear more and leave me a rating, as not only does it help others to discover this podcast, but it strokes my ego. Well, that's if it's a good rating. So yeah, okay. I'll read the bad ones too, I promise. Bye!